Thanks for joining us on Capitol View. I'm Fred Martino. Up front this week, the Illinois Guardianship and Advocacy Commission is an executive state agency created to safeguard the rights of people with disabilities. I'm very pleased to welcome Deputy Director Teresa Parks. Teresa, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Fred. It's great to be here.
Good to have you here. And to start off with, I want to get to the basics. Tell us more about the goals of the Illinois Guardianship and Advocacy Commission.
Yes, Fred, let me start out with just a very general overview of the work that we do. As you said, we are a state agency and we have a statewide presence. We have offices across the state, including offices in Central Illinois, Springfield, Peoria, Champaign, as well as offices downstate in Alton and Anna. And we have offices, of course, in the northern part of the state. All of our work, all of our programs support people with disabilities in different and unique ways. We have a program called the Office of State Guardian that serves as guardian of last resort for adults with disabilities. And by last resort, I mean we don't get appointed guardian unless the court determines someone needs a guardian somewhere in the state and there's no one else willing, available, or appropriate to serve as that individual's guardian. We are guardian for about 5,000 individuals across the state of Illinois. We also make available on our agency website information about guardianship and the guardianship process. We have an intake number where people can call and ask questions about adult guardianship. And we put forth a guardian training module for newly appointed guardians so that they can better understand their role. And really, that's a requirement now in the state of Illinois based on legislation that we initiated, that newly appointed guardians get some kind of training so that they better understand their role. We also have a program called the Legal Advocacy Service that provides legal advice and representation for both children and adults with disabilities, most often in the mental health arena. We also have a program called the Human Rights Authority that investigates allegations of rights violations committed against people with disabilities by disability service providers. And then we have a special education initiative, an advocacy initiative, which is really a collaboration between two of our other programs, the Human Rights Authority and the Legal Advocacy Service. And we provide Illinois families with a resource to turn to for special education issues. So that's a very brief overview, but we can discuss anything in more detail.
We'll get into the specifics on all of those areas in our remaining time. You gave a little bit of information about this next question, but I want to get an example, some more specifics to tell us about the conditions that would cause a guardian to be appointed for an individual.
Yes, if someone does not have an advance directive like a power of attorney, and they are having difficulty managing their life, and they're having problems making safe and sound decisions on an ongoing basis, we're all allowed to make mistakes, but these would be individuals who just regularly put themselves in harm's way, substantial harm's way. It may be possible that a guardian might be warranted, but just so your listeners know, a guardianship is a legal process. It's not something that happens overnight. It involves some paperwork, petitioning, a physician's report confirming that the individual has a condition that requires guardianship. And then ultimately, all of this is reviewed in a court, and it's up to a judge to determine if someone needs a guardian, the type of guardianship, and then the person most appropriate to serve as an individual's guardian. And on our agency website, we actually have a booklet called an adult guide, a guide to adult guardianship in Illinois, that provides an outline of the process. And also there's a private organization out there for guardians called the Illinois Guardianship Association. And they have a booklet called A Family Guide to Adult Guardianship to help families review the process and the kinds of things they need to know about guardianship.
Is a family member required to start the process with you, or can it be someone who's just aware of the situation, a neighbor, a friend?
Yes, anybody can initiate a
Okay.
petition for guardianship, and we do not assist with the process. We can provide education and information, but many times families can initiate it on their own. Some families seek out the assistance of an attorney, especially if there's something complicated about the situation. There are attorneys who specialize in this kind of work, but ultimately, yes, it goes before the judge. It's a legal process.
I understand. I want to move to another issue now that you touched on. Give us some examples of disability providers that the Human Rights Authority might investigate.
Great question. First of all, the authority, in order to investigate a complaint must meet three criteria. It must involve a person with a disability, any type of disability, any age. Secondly, the complaint must involve a disability service provider, any service provider in whole or part that provides services to people with disabilities. Thirdly, the complaint must involve a disability right, and that's a right that's grounded in statute, regulations, or maybe the service provider's own policy. We go into all kinds of settings. Just to give you some examples: state-operated facilities, hospitals, including hospital behavioral health units, group homes, vocational programs, community mental health providers, nursing homes, special education programs, and even jails, because sometimes, unfortunately, people with disabilities interface with the criminal justice system, and they do have some protections in those kinds of settings. What's unique about the authority is that it is comprised of 9 regional boards across the state, and these boards are made up of volunteers, family members of people with disabilities themselves, service providers, and they come together with the help of a staff person from our agency, and they work through these complaints and do the investigations. And I just want to mention that because we're often looking for people to serve on those regional boards. And if someone out there might be interested in this kind of volunteer opportunity, it's very unique, but it's very fulfilling. We'd like to hear from them. We have an online application that people can access and fill out.
All right. Well, there is some good news here. Help is available, and I want to get into this now. How can the Legal Advocacy Service help individuals?
Our legal advocacy service is primarily comprised of attorneys, and we do have a couple of paralegals that work in that division. And mostly what they do is they are appointed by the courts to represent individuals in mental health proceedings, such as an individual is being subject to involuntary commitment to a mental health facility or court-ordered treatment, usually psychotropic medication treatment. Our attorneys represent those individuals to ensure their due process protections during those proceedings. Our attorneys in that program also help with questions about mental health rights and laws. So if anyone out there has some questions about mental health rights, we're a resource in that program. And our attorneys also assist people with setting up advanced directives. There's a unique type of advanced directive here in Illinois called the Mental Health Treatment Declaration, which is a power of attorney specifically designed for mental health services.
All right. Well, to wrap up, you mentioned this. You have a special education initiative. Tell us about that.
Yes, our special education initiative is fairly new. It's comprised of 5 staff. And what we do, we're available to answer questions about special education laws and rights. We also do training for organizations and groups. We also post on our website some online training that people can access about special ed rights and laws. And we do advocacy. We can also assist with what is called IEP meetings. These are special planning meetings for students with disabilities. We can provide remote assistance if our schedule allows. And our attorney and paralegal can assist with some mediation and due process process cases. These are the processes available to students with disabilities if they have complaints about the services that they use.
Such important information, and of course, folks can find out a whole lot more about these various initiatives online at your website. Teresa Parks is the Deputy Director of the Illinois Guardianship and Advocacy Commission. Teresa, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Fred. It's great to be here.